Welcome to Speed Bump Garage. My name is Kent, and it is finally time we get to work on my 69 Volkswagen Beetle. Quick recap on episode 1 with a little bug. I found the car on Facebook Marketplace. It was a great deal. I went and picked it up. We're not positive how long the car's been sitting, but it doesn't currently run. The owner thought it had been sitting for at least 10 years. I did find some car show paperwork in the car from 2007. That was the latest one I found. So we're probably looking at a car that's been sitting 12 to 14 years. In episode 1, we got it cleaned up, kind of looked over everything we had, and we found that the fuel tank was extremely rusty. Since then, I've pulled the tank out, and the outlet of the tank was completely plugged up and rusted. So we definitely weren't getting it running with that tank. I do have a new tank today. We found a few other issues on the car since then. I haven't done much work, just kind of been looking it over, getting prepared to hopefully make this thing run on this episode. That's going to be our goal for today or for this weekend. This may not be a one-day video. So let's see if we can get this thing brought back to life this weekend, maybe get it on the road. I'm super excited. Let's get into it. Before we get too far into it, I'll give you guys a quick walk around of the car in case you didn't see episode 1. It's a really nice little car. It's got ghost flames on the front of it, shaved door handles, which that was kind of interesting because I couldn't even open the car when I bought it because the battery's dead. There's no way to get the doors open, and they're actually suicide doors. Pretty cool car. I have the door panels off of it right now so I can open and close the doors with a dead battery. It's got etching on all the windows. Little mural on the back of it. What's supposed to be a stroked Volkswagen engine. He thought it was around 1840 cc's. More etching, and he called this car Fool's Gold, which is kind of the whole theme of everything on it. You have a guy gold panning here. You got a mountain stream here, kind of a gold panning scene. The car's had a lot of custom work done to it. I can't wait to get it running. Get it on the road. It is definitely set for too long for as cool as it is. Oh, another thing that I did, some of you will remember in episode 1, the windshield was tinted. I pulled the tint off the windshield, so we can drive it if we do get it running. As I was thinking about things that I wanted to get done possibly in this episode before we actually drive the car, I had a thought that made me think maybe I'm getting old. I don't know if you ever had those thoughts where maybe you're turning into your parents a little bit, but this car is so low. I'm afraid it's going to get tore up if we leave it where it is. And another thing, not only is it super low, the suspension is bottomed all the way out. So it only has up travel. We got to figure out a way to get this thing brought back up or it's going to ride like a shopping cart, which I'm not saying we aren't going to drive it in this episode with no suspension travel, but long term, we have got to figure out something on the suspension. So with risk of being the old guy, saying something's too low, because literally I've heard my entire adult life that my vehicles were too low from the old guys. So I guess I'm an old guy now because this car is too low. We've got to bring it up. I've got the car in the air. We're going to take a quick look at this front end. And I have no experience with these Volkswagen front ends, but it's a torsion bar front end. So we've got our lower torsion tubes here, upper torsion tubes here, and the guy that I bought this from said this is a narrowed and lowered front end and it's supposed to be adjustable. I'm guessing these are the adjusters. Looks like we have some sort of a lock nut a jam bolt. It doesn't have a jam bolt on this one for some reason. I don't know if it fell out. But I think those are going to be how we adjust the height. I'm going to mess around with those a little bit, see if I can get it to move, and hopefully I can lock it in place and set it back down and get some lift out of it. I'm going to get on that and then I'll get back with you guys. I brought it back down to the ground. I think I may have figured out how the adjusters work. There's a lock nut on there, which I think you just loosen that lock nut and then you have to adjust a slider up, which just changes where your tension is kept on your torsion bar. And if there's any Volkswagen guys watching this and I'm doing this wrong, or if this doesn't work, help me out. Please let me know in the comments what I need to do. But here's what we've got so far. I loosened this lock nut here and then ran that jam bolt in from the bottom and forced this slider further up on the tube, which allowed it to spin up there, and then locked that lock nut back down. I still need to do the bottom tube, so I'm going to get it up in the air, lock it down, then we'll set the car down and see if we get any suspension travel back in it. Got them both adjusted all the way up. Now it's time to set the car down and see if we got any suspension travel.
I think it's higher. Isn't it?
Yeah. That did bring the car up a little bit, but the more I loaded that suspension, it came back down. And what we've got going on, where I only have one of those lock bolts that's holding that slider in place, the top one settled back down, and I'll show you that. After I started loading that suspension, this one started to work its way back down. So we're gonna need another one of those lock bolts, and it's a fine threaded bolt, and I definitely don't have one here. It may be metric. We'll pull the bottom one out and take it to town. I've also need some, I just realized all the fuel hose on this thing is 1/4 inch. I don't have any 1/4 inch fuel hose here. So we're gonna have to make a trip to town, look for another lock bolt and nut and some fuel hose. And then we'll be ready to try to get this thing to make some noise.
I'm excited.
All right, I'm gonna try this clip again. I just talked to the camera for about 2 minutes and didn't realize I didn't hit the record button. But one more thing before we go to town. This thing has a spin-on oil filter, which isn't typical for a Volkswagen air-cooled Beetle. They didn't have spin-on oil filters. And that filter is painted, so I can't see any numbers on it, but I want to get a fresh oil change for the first fire up. So I'm going to take that filter off before we go to town, see if maybe I can sand some of that paint off there and see some numbers, or match it up with something at the store. Let's spin it off there. Oil looks pretty good.
The oil filter's painted.
Yeah, it's gold like everything on this car.
What are those things, those rod things that are painted under there?
Oh, they're push rod tubes.
He painted everything.
Well, no visible numbers. Let's get some sandpaper after it. Ooh, brake cleaner's the trick. I can see the numbers. All right. Looks like it's a CarQuest 85 342. Well, now that we have a filter number, we can head to town. We'll see you guys when we get back. And we're back. It's actually the next day. I went ahead and came out this morning and got that jam bolt stuck in the front torsion bar. Both of them are tightened up. Suspension's holding. We've got a couple inches of travel. It still sets pretty low. As long as we can get by with it and get over bumps and it doesn't ride too bad, I'm happy with it right there. So now for today, we need to kind of go over the wiring a little bit and get the fuel system in order. The wiring is a little bit of a disaster on this car. I'm worried about it long term. We're gonna probably need to... AJ's here. Long term, we're probably gonna need to put a harness in it or at least clean this one up. It's got a bunch of wire nuts on it and it's just a mess. I can't tell what's what. I'm a little bit worried about it from a fire hazard standpoint, but I think it'll be good enough that we can get it running and try it, but we will have a fire extinguisher handy if we're gonna take it on the road. Here's what I'm talking about on the wiring harness. It is a little bit of a mess. Wire nut, wire nut, wire nut, wire nut. Guys, please don't use wire nuts on your cars. There's a place for that, and it is not in the automotive world. Wire nuts. We're not gonna worry about that right now. We're gonna get the fuel tank in it, and I noticed something on the fuel system this morning. This car has an electric fuel pump up here and a mechanical in the back, and it also has 2 fuel filters. I'm thinking they were having fuel delivery issues, so they had to add a extra filter and pump. And my guess would be their fuel delivery issues were due to a dirty tank, because the tank is really dirty, and it's been sitting for 10 years, but that tank's so dirty, my guess would be it was dirty when this car still ran, which is why they're running 2 filters and probably couldn't get enough fuel, so he added the electric lift pump to help the mechanical. Fingers crossed we're not going to need this mechanical or the electric on the front. I'm going to leave it on there for now. I am going to do away with 1 filter. I'm only going to run 1 in the back. But let's get the fuel system cleaned up and installed, and then I think it'll be ready to make some noise with the bug. I did get the 1/4 inch fuel hose when we were in town yesterday, so I'm going to run new hose from the tank to this electric pump and from the electric pump to the hard line that runs through the floor pan of this car. Ew. That is some nasty gas.
I smell it.
I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's nasty and it's almost black. It smells terrible. Let me show you guys some of this fuel that came out.
Oh, that's nasty.
Look at that. It's so gross. What do you think?
I think that's some nasty gas, and we should get this fuel tank in here with some better gas.
I think I want to hook up, I think I'm going to blow some air through this from the back. So I'm going to take the back fuel hose off and blow that line out, because that is some nasty gas. What do you think, AJ?
Nasty.
Do you smell that?
Yeah.
Here is the back fuel filter. I'm trying to get it loose. I want to put new fuel hose back here also. If you ever find yourself in this situation, you should always close your mouth before you pull on this thing, so to keep from drinking that nasty gas. Ew. Oh, that smells terrible.
It smells terrible, Dad.
Yeah, it's gross, AJ. All right, got it off there. We got some nonsense going on out here. That Power Wheels has the 18-volt drill battery conversion, and he rides it. That's probably his 4th charge for the day, and he figured out how to hook a wagon to it, it looks like. So now he's got Jack on. Well, after a long day of we think it's finally time to fire up the Bug. We've been chasing an electrical gremlin off camera for about an hour. I think we're ready. It'll turn over. We've got gas in it. We've got oil in it.
And I am ready.
New fuel tank. All that's left is to try it. We've spun it over just long enough to make sure it would work. We don't have fuel to the carburetor yet. Jack's gonna pilot this thing. We still have it on the lift in case we need to check for leaks, but he's gonna get in the driver's seat. I'm gonna run the throttle from the back, but let's see if it'll start up. Kick that electric fuel pump on, Jack. Crank it. Will it not start?
I haven't tried it.
Crank on it.
Oh, okay. It's time there,
Keep cranking. Hold up. I'm not getting any fuel. We're not getting any fuel. I'm going to take the fuel line off and see if we can get any to the carburetor.
Huh.
Alright. We're definitely... We're definitely not getting any fuel. I've got the fuel line going to the carburetor completely off, and it's bone dry. I'm going to try to blow some air from the mechanical pump back to the tank and see if maybe we got some blockage somewhere. We got fuel to the carburetor. It was actually plugged up between the mechanical pump and the filter that I put on. We kicked the electric fuel pump on and we started overflowing the carburetor. The float was hung up. We took the top off the carburetor real quick to try to get that float free. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to try to wash everything out in place, stick it back together, and see if we can get it fired up. Let off. Here we go.
Nope.
Yeah. Alright. Well, that's going to be it for this weekend. The Volkswagen beat us. It will not fire up. Still think we may have a little bit of a carburetor issue, and we don't have any fire, so I'm going to get a new set of points for it. Not sure what else, but we're out of time for tonight. It's Sunday night. Have to spend a little bit of family time. The boys both have school in the morning. I have work, so that's what's important. We do have the shop cleaned up. We have a long weekend next weekend, so definitely going to make another run at this thing, and we'll be videoing it. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any idea why you think this maybe won't start, leave us a comment down below. If you like this sort of thing, please hit that subscribe button, maybe give us a like, and we'll catch you on the next video.